All righty. Let's see here. Let's get all settled. Okay, there we go. Get a little bit better angle right here. And hopefully everybody can hear me and hopefully everybody can see me. I want to say happy Father's Day. Who's on the line right now. Happy Father's Day to each and every person that's visiting us right now. I know we have a lot of fathers all around the world. This is HB. I'm actually just now, like in the nick of time, making it to my California house. We celebrated Happy Father's Day out here in California on the West Coast. Just now making it to the house in the nick of time, just so that we can get on and do the call. And so I've got my dry eraser board up. And here's what I've got. I've got my board, but we're out of markers. Can't find markers. So markers may be coming sometime soon today. But also, I want to let you know today's call is going to be just a little bit different today. Today we've got Daniel Camaro, who's actually on another line, who is actually recording the call right now and translating this call at the exact same time so that the same information can be available in Spanish. So if you hear me pausing today or you see me pausing today, it's not because I don't have a clear thought. My pauses are because I want to give time for Daniel to be able to translate everything that I'm going to talk about today. So hopefully everybody now is getting on the call. Maybe you sent out a couple of text messages, and hopefully today, if you missed out last week on doubling up, hopefully today you have doubled up and you've got twice as many people on the call right now today, or by the end of the call today, than you had last week if you didn't double up last week. So we talked about June being the double up month, starting from the very beginning of June with the very first call that we had. And obviously throughout the 4 calls, our goal is for people to be able to double up, some triple up, and some will actually quadruple up. So we'll give just a couple more moments for some people to get themselves prepared and have everybody on the call, because I know even myself was not 100% prepared. I knew I had everything here, but dry erasers or my markers are missing. My markers and my eraser are missing. So, but we're still going to have a very, very, very effective call today. Very effective call. So again, happy Father's Day to all of the fathers that we have that are out there all over the world. Happy Father's Day to you if this is your day. And we celebrate you on this day because Father's Day doesn't necessarily get the same attention that Mother's Day gets. But that's probably rightfully so. But anyway, happy Father's Day to everyone who's out there. So we're going to give maybe about another minute. I'm going to get me a drink of water here as we get started, and I'll be ready to rock and roll on this call. Okay. All righty. Get me a little drink of water. We'll be good to go. Okay. All righty. Well, guys, I am very excited. This is HB again, your Chief Visionary Officer. And for those of you who have just joined us, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to hear a series of pauses. And these pauses are actually there so that Daniel Camaro can actually translate for us. And guess what I've got? I have markers and I have erasers here, so which is a very, very good thing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Wonderful. Got markers, have an eraser, so we're going to have a very, very effective call, and I'm going to be able to do exactly what I intended. But as I was mentioning, we're going to have a translation today, simultaneous translation, so that over in Atlanta, where Daniel Camaro is, he's going to be taking everything that I'm saying and translating it into Spanish, so that way that the Latino or the Spanish-speaking organization have simultaneous translation for these particular calls, and they will also be recorded so that they can get them whenever they want to get them. So bear with me. As I mentioned, I'm not void of thought. It's just some pauses that I have to do for Daniel. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's get started. Guys, very excited. Just coming off of an incredible Super Saturday that we had over in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Phenomenal time. I want to thank Sam Bean. I want to thank Dr. Bob Rikowski. I want to thank Dwayne Klein-Saucer, who was there. I know we had Wade Wynn, who was there as well. I'm sure we had some other diamonds that Cesar Munoz, Carla Marin. All of those diamonds participated in the promotion of this particular event. And we're very, very, very excited about that event. I can tell you that the level of training that we were able to perform in Minnesota was what most people call, and even myself, I would consider it a next level training. The information that was shared there is similar information that we've shared all over the place, but I believe that this organization and this region was absolutely ready for it. And when you find that an organization is ready, the best of the training actually comes out. And I'm looking forward to some massive results to take place over there in that market. Okay? But what I want to do right now is I want to do just a little bit of a recap. Okay? And my purpose for recapping is for those of you who joined the business this week. We have so many people who joined Organo this week. You were not even here or in the business week number 1, and you were not in the business week number 2. And this is week number 3 of the June Success Series. So I'm going to recap just for a moment, and then we're going to catch up, and I'm going to talk about the subject that we're going to discuss today that is going to really show you how to take your business into a direction that you want it to go. Specifically, if you want it to go up, I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, week 1, we talked about being able to kind of clear a path, being able to take all of the mental things that we've accumulated over time, especially all of the mental mistakes that we've made, the mental errors that we've made, and all of the mental frustration that we may have accumulated. And we talked about being able to clear all of that out so that we can have one specific path. You know, week 1, we talked about focus. And I use an acronym, follow one course until successful. And so being able to focus and have one identified goal, one identified mission, one identified purpose as the entire organization, it allows multiple people, including you, including your organization, including your success team members. It allows everyone to harness in on that particular bullseye, and that is how momentum is actually created when everybody is in focus. You know, if you take a shotgun has pellets in it. And when you shoot a shotgun, if you're so far away from it, you almost hit nothing because the pellets, they actually spray in multiple different directions. And that's normally how we start the business, is that you're talking to this person. You may talk to that person, and you're all over the place. And until you find your groove, you're in shotgun mode. But once you have at least found and settled with a group of people, and I don't want to say settle, but once you have identified an organization in which you can work, that is when you get into laser focus mode. And that's the mode that the majority of you should be in at this point right now, laser focus mode. Week number 2, we also talked about some things last week. Last week, we really discussed what I call the income security index. We talked about the law of decreasing responsibility last week. Now, that income security index is really based on being able to have and look at all of your recruitment volume that you have, and then take a look at your consumption volume that you have, i.e. customers, distributors, retail customers, wholesale, preferred customers. How much volume are you producing from non-participants? How much volume are you producing that have nothing to do with new distributors joining. What we talked about is that income security index. We talked about making sure that if you want a successful income, if this right here is your volume from recruiting, you want to make sure that your consumption volume is not too far away from that. Now, your consumption volume should never be greater than your recruiting volume. If your consumption volume you have is greater than your recruiting volume, what you're going to have is a flatline organization. You're going to have a flatline organization, which means your income can be stable, your income can be solid, but you will not have growth. This dotted line right here, which is your consumption volume, this represents stability of your volume. This is what you go out and purchase your lifestyle on. Your lifestyle, your residual income is based on this dotted line, whereas this is what we call your growth income. This right here is the growth of your organization, and this is what I call your fund money. This is your investment capital here. So often we'll find people who'll go out who've got real big dual team checks, and they'll buy a car or a house or spend a lot of this money here. This money never comes back. This one-time income, remember, one-time income. But this money right here, this is residual income. That's residual volume, which means that money comes back over and over and over and over and over again. And also, if you've got a consumption volume that's here and your production and recruitment volume that's there, if something ever happens to recruiting or recruiting slows down, which at some point for you, it will. At some point for you, it will, because trees don't grow into the sky. What will happen is, if you look at it, you've got a large fall that you've got to endure. And this is when your income takes a sharp turn for the negative. And then now you're stuck with just your stable income. And maybe that stable income at this point is not enough to satisfy your financial obligations. And this is when frustration will set in. And so you want to make sure that you keep this line of production income and this line here of consumption income. You want to keep them pretty close. So we talked about that last week as well. Now, we're going to make sure that we make these calls available on the OG Academy, so that you'll be able to go and re-listen to them and watch the actual videos of these calls as well. So, but let's go ahead and talk about today's subject matter. Today's subject matter is we're going to talk about how is it that you build on that income security index. Because it's one thing to know what it looks like when it's secure. It's one thing to know what it looks like when it's insecure. And if it's insecure, how do I make it secure? What do I do to build upon it? And remember, you will always hear us use terms like building the business, okay? And again, for those of you who are probably just joining us, you'll notice that I'm speaking with little pauses, speaking a little slow. We've got Daniel Camaro, who's actually translating at this moment, this call into Spanish. And so I'm going a little slow so that he'll be able to keep the flow, and that our Spanish-speaking organization will get this exact same training without having to have subtitles or having to do the work and go back and retranslate the call. So how do we build it? Now, remember, there was two elements that I spoke of. Two. One was the recruiting volume. The second one was the consumption volume. Consumption volume. The thing I want you to understand specifically regarding our organo and network marketing business is that everything is based on people. Everything that we do is based on people. If you're going to grow your business, you're going to have to grow your people skills. If you're going to grow your volume, you're going to have to grow your network. And that network marketing is not based off of how many social media sites that I have. It's not based on just how many connections I have over here, how many I have over there. It's about how many, not how many ads I place, how many ad spends, or what's my ad budget. It's about how many people am I connected to. You want to be connected all over the place. And so in network marketing, which is pretty much life, you should always be building your network. Never, ever, ever miss an opportunity to expand your network, okay? And so I want you to imagine a little baby spider. I want you to imagine you've probably been in your house, or you've gone somewhere, hotel, maybe a restroom, or somewhere in a closet, and you've seen a spider web, all right? Now, when you see these spider webs, and I'm not going to try to really, I'm not so good at drawing all these spider webs or whatever, but anyway, you'll see these spider webs, and a baby spider web may be about this big around. And when you see the baby spider web, or when you see the web itself, you can determine the size of the spider that created that web. You can determine it, you know. And it's the same thing. See, when I talk to a person and they tell me how much money they want to earn, or they tell me how big of a business they want to build, and then they give me a list of 15 people, I already know that the largest part of their network is going to be a little baby spider web. And how much all that they truly want. They're only going to capture what I call the low-hanging fruit, or the easy catches. But then some of you've actually been out, and you've been out maybe in the woods, and you've seen spider webs that are larger than conference tables. And you know that a baby spider didn't cast that web. You know that the spider that cast that web is a spider that has a large appetite for whatever it is that it's going to hunt. And so your network is going to determine your net worth. Your network is going to determine your net worth, specifically as it relates to the income security index, okay? And I want you taking notes on this, because these are some basic elements that a lot of people don't really understand. And so how do we expand that network? Because if my income security index is flawed, how do I correct it? The answer is expand your network. So I'm going to talk to you right now about the foundation of expanding your network, how to expand your network, when to expand your network, and then how to use that network to influence my income security index, which is really important. Okay? So now, the question that I have for you is, do you see yourself being the little baby spider with the small appetite? Or do you see yourself being that huge spider casting that huge web that can actually capture and hold so many different things? You know, there's spider webs that are out there that can actually capture small animals and hold small animals, but it's not these right here. And so typically I see people who say, wow, I would love to have a Cesar Munoz. I would love to have an Edwin Haynes. I would love to have a Sam Bean or a Emmanuel Bernstein, or you know, I would love to have one of these guys in my organization. See, those are the big whales. Those are the big guys. And it's very difficult to capture one of those when your network is so small. Here's the thing that I know as well, is that people who have small networks typically associate with other people who have small networks. The size of your network after about 18 months in this business will always determine the size of your dream. And it vice versa. See, the size of your dream when you join the business will always force you into making sure you have the similar size network. It's very seldom that I find a person who's got a large network that they're willing to apply to Organo, but only want to build themselves a little $500 a month income. Yeah. And it's very difficult for a person to come in and say, well, you know, I only know, 8 people. I'll use Casey Milson Martin for an example. When she got involved in the business, she had a very small network. At the time, she wasn't well read either. I don't know if Casey had ever been into personal development and reading books. She just graduated from high school. She didn't know anybody. And what happened is she started to hang around people who had larger networks, and she realized I've got to expand my network if I want to expand my net worth. And if you take a look at it now, I believe somewhere in the neighborhood, the Nielsen's have put, I don't know what the number is, probably somewhere over 40, 50,000 people in their organization. But look at who her sponsor is, who her upline is. It's Rod Smith. Rod Smith had a large network. Rod Smith, professional athlete, big dream when he got involved in Organo. And so the influence that he had on this organization was for them to expand their network so that they can actually multiply and expand their network, okay? So I want you to understand that your network size is going to be in direct proportion to your net worth. After about 18 months that you're involved in this business, we will know whether or not you're properly utilizing your network, okay? We'll know after about 18 months. So let's talk about it. I want to give you an example here, and I want to talk to you about a concept. I would call that concept building what we call the pipeline. And I'm going to give you a reference book that I've given this book out multiple times before. It's called The Parable of the Pipeline. Okay, The Parable of the Pipeline. The author of that book is Burke Hedges. Okay, Burke Hedges. And if you go and get this book, you'll start to understand what I'm going to talk about here. And that book will make so much sense when it comes to building your organization and building your network. Now, I've given you an example of 2 people who have actually earned millions of dollars in Organo. One was already a multi-millionaire, somebody who's known all over the globe, Rod Smith, who had a huge network of people. And then in the same business that we have, with the same products, we had Casey Milson at that time, who had a list of 8 people. But both of them had big dreams and big visions. So what am I telling you? I'm using those 2 as an example to let you know that it doesn't matter how you get started and the size of your network when you get started. But the size of your vision and the size of your dream, if it's a big one, it will always make you expand your network. Now, as I mentioned to you, you look at the Nielsen's have over 40, 50,000 distributors in their organization. They've built a very large network. But I can tell you this, it didn't happen because of 8 people. It happened because they expanded their network. And so what do? When we talked about last week, I also gave you some of the ideas of how to, of the 4 steps. And I spoke about building a list of names. The list of names is going to be part of your network. Those are going to be the resources that you have to build your network. And I'm going to show you right now, what do you do with the list of names as you build what I call your pipeline. You always want to have something going in the pipeline, okay? Now, when we get to step number 2, we always say build the list of 100 people, 50 opportunity seekers, and 50 coffee drinkers, or 50 consumers. 100 people is what we're talking about. to start. Now, here's what I want you to know. When it comes to network marketing, the majority of the people come into the business with a social club mentality. They come into the business with just a, that it's not a real business. They come into the business with a, can you do me a favor mentality. And even though we use that as a script, they're not necessarily doing you a favor. You're doing them a favor. But if you think that you're having to use people to build this business, you won't expand your network. I want you to start understanding and developing the mentality that every person that you put on your list to establish your network is a potential diamond. And imagine that each person made a decision to become a diamond. What would the effects be on their lifestyle? What would the effects be on their family? And so as I'm establishing my network, I've never looked at my network doing me a favor by looking at the business. Doesn't work that way. I've always looked at how many people, if they made a decision to get involved in Organo and go diamond, what would their life be like? This is why it allows me to have so much comfort making a phone call to a person or sharing the opportunity with the person, because I'm not thinking about using them, or I'm not thinking about them doing me a favor. I know if I put you on my list, you are so fortunate. You are so blessed to be on Holton Buggs' list. This is my mentality. And I want you to have the same mentality as you start to build your network. You've got to understand the value of your network. Remember, it's your network, not somebody else's network. It's yours. So often we get people into the business and their Facebook account is full of friends, and we call them friends. And then we ask them, how many people do you have on your list? And they say, well, I'm up to 12. Now, we're willing to share our meals with the 5,000 Facebook friends. We're willing to share our latest outfit that we're wearing. We're willing to share our personal business, our weight loss goals. We're willing to share all the gossip. We're willing to even forward and promote other people, like musicians. Many of you, I'm sure, have forwarded out Beyonce's new album that she's dropped that you won't earn one dime from it. But you'll let everybody in your network know how awesome this song is, or how awesome this particular song is. You'll take a look at people when the Grammys are on, and you'll get on Twitter and you will comment on the red carpet dresses and how everybody was looking. And you don't earn one single dime from it. But when it comes to building your network, you get shy. I don't know anybody. I don't know any people. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. What I want you to know is the same confidence and the same boldness that you gotta have, or that you have, regarding letting people know about this movie, this artist, or this record, or this dress. You're gonna use that same confidence when promoting your business, but we're going to do it in a little bit different way, okay? We're gonna do it a little differently. So the thing I'm gonna tell you is, for every person's name that you write on your list, here's what I want you to imagine. We know for a fact that each person will not go diamond. That's just a fact. We also know that every person will not get in the business. They won't make a yes decision. But in your mind, here's what I want you to think. Over the lifetime, let's just say, of over 10 years, which Organo's just celebrating its 10-year anniversary, a diamond, let's just say a diamond earning about $250,000 a year. And you're earning a percentage, a matching bonus on that diamond. You're also earning revenue, residual income from that diamond, and you're also earning dual team volume or even commissions directly from that particular diamond. But if you take 10 years, that's $2.5 million that Diamond has actually earned. Let's say 50% of that income is in their dual team, is that consumption income. If 50% of their income is about $1.25 million, as a personally sponsored Diamond, you're going to receive about 80% of that income as well through your residual component. That means every person's name that you put on the list, it potentially over the next 10 years can be worth $1.25 million. That means $1,250,000 over the next 10 years. Now, here's the thing. When I made my list, when I made my first list had 400 people on it. Why? Because I wanted to build myself a network large, and I wanted to build it fast. And so the larger my list was, the larger the potential was for my network to grow, and also the more opportunities I had to be able to check off and say I've got a diamond. Now, over my career in Organo, I have personally enrolled over 18 personally sponsored people who actually reached the diamond level or above. Been in the business now almost 10 years. And so I want you to start being able to understand and multiply. This is why I was so serious. This is why I was not shy whatsoever, because I looked at the compensation plan and I knew that each person who made a decision to plug into the system, it could be worth $1.25 million for me. Now, here's the thing. This is what I know. What are the odds of you winning the lottery? 1 in however many trillion dollars of you winning the lottery. And what I did is I took the same mentality and I said, if I build a pipeline and I know for a fact I'm going to put the winning numbers in here, I have a higher opportunity of a chance to win the lottery. And not only did I win the lottery, I hit the lottery 18 different times. 18 different times I was able to win the lottery. Now, let me ask you a question. Is that much better odds than going out there giving your money away and knowing that you've got 1 in a trillion times of the odds in terms of being able to achieve that? So this is why building your list the proper way, confident, strong, this is why that's so important. And this is why it is always important to always build your network. Every single day, do not miss a day to expand your network from what it is now to a higher number. There are people that I have actually met, and I'll share with you one way that I built my network. It was one little tool that I used in the very beginning. When I was launching Organo, here's what I did. I knew that there were people who had a sphere of influence that I didn't have. They had a network of people that would listen to them before they listened to me. And so I put those 10 people on I had a little text message group of 10 people. These were 10 people that I never tried to prospect about Organo. They were already in network marketing. They were doing very well in their own companies. But what I wanted is I knew I had to have my network expand by every means that I possibly could. Here's what I did to expand that network. Every 30 to 90 days, I would send a text message to this group. Here's how it went. Hey guys, I want to give you guys some up news in a down industry. At that moment, the industry of networking was down. And so I would always want to be the good news spreader. Hey guys, I want to give you some up up news in a down industry. This month, I was able to reach my financial goal that I had set. I earned X number of dollars this month here, and I wanted to share the good news, and I thank each and every one of you for your support. My goal over the next 90 days is to double that number or whatever it was, and these are some pretty significant numbers, right? And I said, in 60 to 90 days, I'll give you guys an update so that way you can share in my success. And every one of those people will always text me back, congratulations, way to go. I didn't want all of that congratulations. I can't take care of my financial obligations with congratulations. You know what I wanted? I wanted my network to expand. You know what those people did? Those people went out and start running their mouth. Hey, did you hear about what Holton did? Did you know Holton made this amount of money in his first 90 days in Organo? Did you hear how many people is in his organization? Did you know that Holton's got a goal of making this? Now I've got 10 other people talking about me. But these are people who got influence. Do you know I sponsored 6 diamonds from those 10 people who were spreading the word, and those people came to me saying, hey, I have heard. Why? It is a network. I was expanding my network through other people that I didn't even have a reach with, but I had a reach with those 10 people, and I never tried to sponsor the 10 people. Never tried to sponsor the 10 people, okay? So I want you to just understand that you can create your own lottery. You can create your own lottery. So let's talk about the pipeline, all right? There's different stages that we're going to have in the pipeline. So let's look at the pipeline here. This pipeline here, just imagine, it's like a pipeline is like a sewer line. It's like a water hose. What happens is this. In a pipeline, for a pipeline to be effective, what has to happen is there has to be what's called an inlet. An inlet is right here in the pipeline. So here's your inlet. That means that you've got to be able to put something in the pipeline. Now, what I want you to know is this. If you take one name and you start putting one name through the pipeline every day when you get started, you'll never build momentum. You will never build momentum. And what will happen is this, is that the outlet of your pipeline, let's call this here the little outlet, all you will create is a little drip. And when you have a little drip, you won't even create a puddle, because by the time they drip down, it all dries up. That's not building a network. What has to happen, and why we say start with 100, is because we want to process as many people through your pipeline as we possibly can. Because I'm going to show you the stages of where people will be in the pipeline, and how you turn this pipeline into your own personal lottery system. And it works every single time. I no longer depend on the lottery. I don't care about scratch off. I don't care about waiting at home on Sunday or Monday nights whenever they read the numbers, hoping and praying that I won the lottery. I created my own lottery. It's called Organo. It's the Organo compensation plan. That's our own lottery system, and it pays out every single time. Every single time it will pay out. So here's what you're going to have. If you see here, I'm going to divide this. This pipeline into 2. This one here is going to be your consumer line, and then this one here is going to be your distributor. This is your distributor lane, and this right here is your consumer lane. Okay. But what happens is most people are waiting for some results to come out when they never put anything in. They never put anything in. Now, here's what has to happen. How did we succeed in the business? When you're launching your business, those of you who just got started, you're brand new in Organo right now. And the most important thing that you can do is for you to start fast. You want to start with a high volume and a high velocity of people that you're going to process through your pipeline, so that at the end result, you have a very large network. Let me explain what I mean. When I got started in Organo, I want to give you my personal story so you understand. I had over 400 people that were on my list. I used my mobile phone, and what I did was I looked at every name that I had in my mobile phone, and I had about 400. Here's what I want you to know, that 300, I think it was about 360 of those people told me no, or never got started in the business. Out of 400, I had 360 to tell me no. Now, here's what happened. As I was building my network, these people here built my character, and these people here, the 40, built my wealth. I had 360 people to help me build character. What do you mean? When they said, no, not right now, I don't believe it. You mean coffee. I don't drink coffee. Coffee will never work. Whatever excuse they gave me, it was okay, because these people were helping me build my story, and these people here were helping me build my wealth. And these people, I put 42 personally sponsored people into the business in my first 30 days. I put 21 on my left, and I put 21 on my right. Now, I don't want you to get intimidated by that number. I'm a professional. I have been doing this for quite some time. But if I can do 42 in 30 days, and it wasn't easy, okay? I know for a fact in 30 days, you can do 6 on your left and 6 on your right. Anybody can do that. I've had people to come in who've got less credibility than I have, and they've done 15, 20, 30 people that they've sponsored their first 30 days. And I even have some who come and sponsored more. Well, what was the purpose of me processing 400 people? Here's what happened. The more I put into the pipeline, what happened is I started creating pressure. I want you to imagine you've got the water spigot and you've got it on full blast. That water hose now starts to stretch out, and what happens is the water starts gushing out. That's what I wanted to have happen with my results. Okay? And so here's what I did. I made a list of everyone that I knew of. I started to also add to my network. Here's the point that I want to stress about adding to your network. I started with 400 on my network. I have probably processed somewhere in the neighborhood now of about 2,000 to 3,000 people since I've been in Organo that I've actually run through the system. I have personally enrolled in 10 years about 200, maybe about 270. It may be a little more, a little less. I forgot what the number is. I don't even keep count, but maybe 270 people have said yes. 270 have said yes. You don't have to have 270 to make $1 million. You can have less than that. We've had people that I personally sponsored, and we had one guy got his $3 million ring, and he had only sponsored 42 people. Okay, and so it's going to be different for every single person. So 270 people told me yes, but over 3,000 people have not completed the cycle. Now, what I wanted to have happen is this. You want to create what's called momentum. You always want to create momentum as you're building the business. Remember, this is going to go back to the income security index. Let me show you. do this again. Okay. So everything that I'm talking about now is related to this area right here. And I'm sharing with you how to make it happen, how to keep it growing so that your income security index becomes much stronger, okay? Let me move this up a little bit here. Hold on 1 second here. That's okay. All right, I see there's a glare in there. But anyway, so what happened is the more people you process through here, you start to create something called momentum, okay? You start to create momentum. Momentum basically means mass times velocity squared, or P equals mv squared. That's actually the formula for momentum. P is momentum equals mass. Mass simply means a large group or a large body of information. In this case here, a large number of names. In my case, 400 names went through this system starting, let's just say here, this is day 1. And this right here, between day 1 and day 30, I had 400 names that was in the pipeline. 400 names in the pipeline. Now, here's what happened. It created a lot of pressure, but you've got velocity squared. Velocity means you put them in with a lot of speed. I can do the same formula taking 400 names, but if I took 4 years to put them through, I don't create nothing but a big puddle here. I still only create a drip. You say, well, Holton, I did the same numbers. Yes, you did the same numbers, but you didn't do it within a compressed time frame. So your pipeline, you got to compress time frames in order for the formula to work for you. This is why and how I can guarantee myself hitting the lottery with every 100 people that I'm going to put through here. I'm going to hit the lottery. I'm going to make sure that I sponsor someone that leads me to a leader. Some lotteries are going to be bigger than others. Sometimes you'll hit the Powerball, but it's okay. It's okay if you start small. So we tell you to start with 50 and 50. 50 over here, 50 over here. But we want you to process those 100 names, specifically those 50 opportunity seekers. You should process those people within your first week in the business. If you take 1 full month to talk to 50 people in your pipeline, you're wasting time. You're not creating a velocity. You got a little bit of a mass, but you don't have velocity squared. And so you don't create momentum. And what happens is some people start to wonder, why isn't the business taking off for me? Or here's what happens. In many cases, I have people who actually take off. They actually go into liftoff. So they start down the runway here. You can't see that. They start down the runway and they lift off and they're like, wow, this is exciting, because they're starting to see the group get some traction. And what happens is this, is that they'll probably hit Sapphire. Somebody will hit VIP or Platinum Elite. And the next thing you know, they'll taper off and then the group goes back down like this. And every time I see this happen, here's what took place. Right about here is when people stop feeding the pipeline. The organization as a whole stopped feeding the pipeline. Why? Because they're so focused on the rank that they've achieved. They're so focused on the success that the group is having. We're giving so much edification, and they start to think, I have found who's going to take me to diamond. Well, the more that you feed the pipeline, the more of a vertical that this success is going to have. And once you have the pipeline completely full, it starts to, you don't need as much effort. Many of you've seen me talk about the pump in the desert, right? When you got a well and the well is dry, but there's water down there, and you've got the water spigot that's there. And what you've got to do is you've got to prime the pump. And you prime the pump by applying pressure. you got to have a certain amount of pressure, which is the mass, and you got to keep priming the pump velocity. And what happens is you will build up enough pressure, and at first you'll start to see a drip. And then you'll start to see a little bit of a splash. And then you'll see some water coming in and coming in and coming in and coming in. But if you stop and start admiring the water that's coming out, it's going to recede and you're going to have to start the whole process over. So you keep priming the pump until the water is gushing out, and now you've got nothing but water pressure within that pump, and it will actually keep pushing water out even without your effort, okay? Even without your effort, it's going to happen. And that's the same concept, ladies and gentlemen, of building this business, of what you're doing in the pipeline. So what happens in this pipeline, let me give you these examples here. And Daniel, I apologize if I'm going too fast. Trying to speak a little slow. So here's what happens in that pipeline, okay? Here's what should be happening. In that pipeline, people are going to reach certain points in the pipeline. We kind of call it a baseball diamond, if you will. Okay. So here, you're going to have what we call first base, second base, and then you're going to have third base, and then here you're going to have home plate. Not good at drawing over here, but anyway, you guys get the picture, right? Right? So what happens is when you get the name of the person and you make the phone call, you make what's called the invite. The invite, when you do the invite, you're now booking an appointment and you're getting the person to first base. Now, it's just like baseball. Some people are going to hit singles. Some people are going to hit doubles. Some people are going to get triples. And sometimes you're actually going to hit home runs. Sometimes you will even strike out. It's okay. But remember, in baseball, if you can actually get on base 3 out of every 10 times that you're up, do you know that there's a team out there that will give you a $100 million contract? That means 7 out of 10 times you don't make it to base, but only 3 out of 10, that's worth over $100 million over a 5-year period of time. $20 million a year is what that's worth. So I don't want you to get frustrated on the number of failures. If you remember, 360 people built my character while 40 people helped build my wealth. I don't care about who doesn't get in. I don't care about who says no. I'm supposed to have more people tell me no than I am to tell me yes. So now, I'm now putting people through the pipeline. I categorize my list by priority. Why? We talk about something called 4 checkers. Let me explain a 4 checker before I start putting people through my distribution list, pipeline. A 4 checker is someone, number one, they are self-motivated. I'm not looking for somebody that I've got to push them every time. I've got to pump them up. I've got to remind them of everything that's needed to do in the business. That's not what I'm looking for. Remember this philosophy. You can only push 1 wheelchair at a time. 1 wheelchair at a time. I'm not into wheelchair pushing. So I'm looking for somebody who is self-motivated, who's a self-starter. The second thing I'm looking for, does this person have influence? Do they have a network? If I can say yes, I check that off. That person now is a 2 checker. Is this person coachable, teachable, and trainable? Will they listen to me? Will they listen to you? If you give them instruction, will they go ahead and receive your instructions? If yes, check that off, and now you've got a 3 checker. The 4th check would be, does this person have the finances or the financial wherewithal to actually get started and pay for their own products? If you check that off, then it's yes. I always start with my 4 checkers. I don't start with 2 and 3 checkers first. I want the most successful people to join the business first because they've got a larger network and it's easier to work with their network. When I start with a 2 checker, it's a lot of work. If I start with the 1 checker, it's almost impossible for me to find what I'm looking for. Okay? So remember, when you build your prospect list and you're creating your pipeline, you want to create a pipeline with people who've got a larger network than you do, because they will in turn expand the network in this pipeline and create more pressure. See, when I sponsored Edwin Haynes, Edwin had a list of probably about 300, 400 people himself. Guess what? So that means that when I put one person in, Edwin Haynes, in my pipeline also was another 400 names. This is why there was so much pressure. It didn't have any choice but to explode by the time it was coming out the other end. Okay? And so one of the second people that I sponsored in the business, I had a requirement back then that you had to have 100 customers to be one of my first 10 personally sponsored people. And she got 100 customers in 24 hours. 24 hours. So over here I had a person who had a list of distributors and also 100 customers that were already ready, that had committed to buying product in 24 hours. Because why? I was serious about launching my business. I wasn't tiptoeing just through the business. I wasn't saying, let me see if this is going to work. I knew the lottery numbers was in the pipeline. I just had to wait for them to come out on the other end. I own the pipeline. You own the pipeline. And so first base is the introduction. Okay? You invite them to a meeting. You invite them to a conference call. If and when they show up, they've made it to first base. So here's what happens. In the pipeline, first base is right here. That's first base. And so now you're going to have a certain number of people in your pipeline who are right there stuck on first base. Your goal is to get them to go from first base to second base. Well, what is second base? Second base is when this person has seen the business and they've seen a presentation or they have listened to a conference call. My goal is to see if I can close that person now based on what it is that they want. Okay? I let them close themselves. What I find is that about 20 to 30% of the people that I get to first base, they actually come all the way into home plate and make a buying decision. All right? That's 20 to 30% of the people who get to first base. Now, here's what happens. That means I'm left with 70 to 80% of the people that I've got to do some work with. This is why it's called network marketing. It's not net magic marketing, network marketing. So if they get to first base and they don't make a buying decision at that moment, what I do is I set up either to get them to second base. What's at second base? It's either a second look. If I did a one-on-one, I say, hey, listen, you should come out to our hotel meeting. I want you to see a bigger picture. It will be incredible for you to meet my upline Ruby. This lady, she's absolutely phenomenal. She's actually built a full-time income building Organo, and you need to see how she's done it. So now I'm edifying the system to get them from first base to second base. Or I may say, I may do a follow-up. The follow-up may be getting them a second base may be the follow-up. So they say, well, hey, Holton, listen, I like Organo. I like what you said, but I have some questions and I would love to try the product at home before I get involved. No problem. So I say, well, I'll tell you what, How much coffee or product do you need to sample before we talk again? You drink coffee every day, right? Yes. Listen, most people need 24 hours. I'm going to give you 48 hours. So if today's Monday, Wednesday, what time is best for us to connect and get back together? Morning or afternoon? Afternoon. Early afternoon or late afternoon? Late. 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock? 3. So I've got a 3 o'clock follow-up. I've now gotten them to second base. At second base, here's where they are now. I've got people at second base in the pipeline. They're going to be at different stages in the pipeline, but if your pipeline ever gets empty, you're going to have to start the process all over again, and you're going to feel like you got to build the business from scratch again. That's not fun. I've done it multiple times. Over and over, I've built Organo over and over again, but I've never had to start over from scratch because I've always made sure that my pipeline was always full. Now, so if I get them to second base, once I do the follow-up is not another presentation. The follow-up should be a series of questions that I'm going to ask these people here. A series of questions. It's not about sounding good. It's about listening. Tell me, what did you like about the product? What did you like about what you saw? What did you like best? Wow. Do you know? Most people like that too. The money, that's exactly what attracted me. If they say the product, great. I love the product too. Next question is, if I was to work with you, how much money would you want to earn in the first 90 days? If I was to work with you, and I can't work with everyone, but if I gave you my time, what would be worth it for you to earn in the first 90 days? Now I get them to start answering questions because my job is to listen to what's wrong in their life and find the solution for them. Oh, well, if I can make an extra $2,000 a month, great. Let me ask you a question. What would you do with it, the $2,000? How would it change or impact your life? And I listen. Why? I'm going to use that from now on. Well, listen here. To make $2,000 a month, would you be willing to put together a list of people, maybe like 30, 40 people so that I can present the business? Kind of like, what Sam Bean did over here. Kind of like what Carla Marin did. Would you be willing to do that? Yeah, I'd be willing to do that. Well, to make an extra $2,000 a month, would you be willing to take about 7, to maybe 15, 20 hours a week on occasion to make sure that we realize this income until you go full time? That's what Jose Luis did. Yeah, I'd be willing to do that. And so now when I'm asking all of those questions, my goal is to get them on the follow-up from second base, skip third, come all the way home. If I don't succeed, if I can't get them here, the third base maybe now I'm going to do what's called a three-way call. Three-way call. Who's a three-way call? To my upline. They've already seen a one-on-one. I followed up with them, and then I didn't get them in the business then. So now I'm going to put them on a three-way call. Now that's third base. So guess what? Third base is somewhere over here. So now I've got a big group of people between second base and third base. I always have people within the pipeline. I always have people that I need to follow up with all the time. Why? Because every day, once I put my 400 people through the pipeline, do you know what I was doing? Every day I was meeting 2, 3, 4, 5 people a day to make sure I was continuing to satisfy the pipeline. Why? I never wanted the pipeline to dry up. You can't have the pipeline dry up. And now here's what happens. I get them to third base. Guess what's going to happen at third base? I'm now going to have, this is the third time they've heard something about Organo. The more often I get them engaged, the higher percentage of the people sign up. If I get you to third base I've got about a 70% chance for you to become a distributor. This is why there's a few of us who really make the big money, because we're willing to work to get them to third base. Most people think, well, I invited them, they got in or they didn't get in, I'm done. Doesn't work that way. You want to get them as far around to as close to home base as possible. If they get to third base, hearing it 3 times, that means that they are interested. They are looking. I'm looking for someone who is looking. And so from here, I'm going to either, from here, I will get a decision that it's either going to be yes, or they become a customer. And when they become a customer, I'm putting them over here in my consumer pipeline. Now you got to remember, these are my personal customers here, but also my distributors. Every time they get customers, I've got them adding their customers to my consumer pipeline as well. This is how I'm able to keep my ratio of volume very close to my recruiting. Because for every distributor I get, my goal is to get them 10 customers in their first 30 days. 10 customers in their first 30 days. That's the goal. So now, if I want to keep growing my business, if my business is flat, what do? I make sure that I go back to the pipeline. Who do I have that's right now sitting at first base? And I get them from first base to second base. Who do I have that's at second base that's been sitting there? Here's the thing. You can't leave these people on base too long. You can't leave them there for 2 months. They don't stay on second base for 2 months. You've got to continue processing them. Now remember, many of you are going to be looking at this as your own production. Third base here, obviously this is home plate. What's going to come out? Customer, distributor, or a referral. That's the goal. But this right here is your organization. This is not just you. You've got to prime the pump. You've got to do the work first to start this distribution pipeline, to start producing some results. And then when you get other people in there, that's when you'll start seeing, wow, I've got other distributors in here with me as well. And now their distributors, they've got people on first, second, third base. Sometimes you're going to hit home runs, but not too often. I didn't hit a lot of home runs. I struck out the majority of the time, but I never focused on my failures. I learned from my failures. If I did a presentation and I noticed, well, you know what? I think I talked too much throughout that presentation. The next time I said, I'm going to make sure I talk less. If the next presentation, well, I didn't speak enough about the product. So I spoke more about the product. And then I said, well, you know what? I think I explained too much about the product. So the next one, you know what I did? I show more pictures. Wow, I'm getting better results. I'm learning. I've learned. The 40 people that I sponsored my first 30 days didn't teach me a lot. It was the 360 that told me no is where I learned. And stop thinking that you're learning only from your successes. You earn from your successes. You learn from your moments of failure. Remember I said moments. Failure is not terminal. Failure is not a destination. It's a moment. I've had a lot of failures, moments of failure. But the thing that I've always done is I've always kept my pipeline full of prospects. I've always kept the pipeline full of prospects. And because I've always kept my pipeline full of prospects, I've always had new life coming into my business. New life, always coming into my business. Always coming into my business, new life. I don't have a situation where I'm just having a drip. This means I've got an empty pipeline. If you're having one person a week, one person a month come through your group, you've got an empty pipeline. It's okay. I've shown you what you need to do to fix it. Meet people every day. Add to your pipeline every day. Ask for referrals every day. Don't ride on an airplane and have a stranger after 2 hours of sitting there sharing the same airspace. You're wasting time. I will sit when I'm building my business. If you come within 3 feet of me, I'm going to know you. I'm going to know your kids. I'm going to know your family. I'm going to know what you do for a living. And it's not because I'm a people person and I love to go and meet people. My natural tendency is that I'm shy. I don't like to be the one to extend. But I had a decision that I had to make. I could be shy or I could be rich. I could not do both and be in network marketing. And I said, I would rather be rich. And still to this day, when I meet a new person, if I see someone that I don't know, in my stomach, these little butterflies, they come up when I go out and reach to shake their hand. Nervous. Yes, your crown ambassador. Nervous. To say, hey, how are you? I'm Holton. Nice to meet you. Okay. And so it may come across natural. Do you know why? Because I practiced it tens of thousands of times. Hey, how you doing? I'm Holton Bugs. Nice to meet you. It sounds natural now because I would do it in the mirror over and over and over and over and over again because I had a choice. Either I was going to be my own boss and own my own destiny by learning to build my network, or I was going to work for somebody and help them build their network. Because when I was working for someone, I was in sales. And every customer I sold a product to, I was helping that person build their network. I was helping that owner build their network. And remember, the larger their network became, the larger their net worth became. But not mine, because I was only getting paid for assisting somebody to build their network. The wealth comes from owning the network that you're building. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope that this pipeline strategy apply. I hope that you can find yourself in this pipeline. I'm challenging you right now to get off of this phone. I'm challenging you to write down a new list of names. I'm challenging you right now to get 1, 2, 3 people in your organization. I dare you to text your upline and let them know that you are now adding to your network, that you're building your own pipeline. Text your upline, text your sponsor, and let them know this week I'm personally going to add X number of people to my pipeline. If that number's 10, if that number's 5, if that number's 100, text them right now and let them know you can count on 10 new people being added to the pipeline. That doesn't mean 10 people who get in. That means 10 people that you're going to go out there and have a goal to get them to first base, second, third, and then bring them on home. And some of them may be a home run, and some of those home runs may turn into your winning lottery ticket that you have created through building your own pipeline. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot of exciting things going on. We've got Carmen Beltran, who's going to be, I believe, in Houston, Texas on July the 24th. I'm sorry, the 24th of June. I will be in Atlanta, Georgia. I think that's going to be the 27th of July, that weekend, whatever that Thursday is. There's also going to be a huge woman-law event that will take place in Atlanta, Georgia on that Sunday as well. Make sure that you take a look and see if tickets are available. You want to be there. Daniel Camaro and Toledo Camaro, brand new emeralds, going diamond. And I know we'll be Black Diamonds in this company very soon. Will be our host. I can't wait to get there. We're going to have people from all over the place that's going to be there. I know Jose Luis, I was talking to, he's going to be on tour, going all over the place. I know Cesar Munoz has been on tour, Hanoi, has always just out there making things happen. And I know I'm missing probably a lot of names of people who are out there making things happen. But ladies and gentlemen, always remember, it's easy, it's simple, it's organo. Let's double. We've got one more call for you to double in the month of June. I'll see you next week. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Bye-bye.